I thought the 80s was a very special time for basketball in this country.
The 80s was the heyday of basketball.
It was a golden era.
Whole decade was a bunch of rock and roll and have some fun.
Body always calls us the Invincibles.
Pierce with the three-point try, and as the Iceman scores, Al Green absolutely showed Brett Flanagan the go-by.
Sensational is the word for the 80s. That's the one, because if you blinked, you missed something.
Playing a super game. Davis is going to go and bang! Whoa!
And time flies when you're having fun. We had a lot of fun back there, man.
The dream come true.
I had a ball.
One of the greatest times of my life.
You had someone like Al who'd had a 71-point game early in his career.
I had like 60 in the game. I had 59 in the game before that.
He is the most trash-talkingest cat you ever want to see, man. He put the T in trash talk.
Darryl was just such an effortless shooter, and once he got going, I mean, he was extraordinary.
There he goes. There's yes. 47.
Bill Jones was an athlete.
Passes off inside to Jones. And here is the slam dunk.
Mark Davis is one of the greatest players that ever lived.
My thing was rebounding.
But what a great rebound by Mark Davis.
Michael was only about 19, I think. Young boy, full of it, you know.
That was my role. Come in, shoot, try and knock it down and make things happen.
Hi, my name's Ben, this is Lockie, and we're doing our Assessment 1 for Hugh McDonald in Business of Sport, Holmes Glen. Our topic question on this report will be: the NBL boomed in the mid-1980s, but since the early 1980s, elite level club basketball either stagnated or declined in terms of public support and media interest. How do you account for these dramatic ups and downs for the NBL? So, throughout the 1980s, basketball was booming. The NBA was producing players of legend status such as Larry Bird for the Boston Celtics, Magic Johnson of the LA Lakers, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, also of the Lakers. And of course, we've brought out the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He's widely regarded as the greatest to have played the game of basketball. The game had reignited the game's biggest rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, who played in the 1980s. They played and won a combined total of 8 out of the 10 championships from that decade. The 1980s also saw the birth of the big-time shoe commercials, so with Nike, Adidas and all them. Saw the draft lottery come in, the beginnings of the salary cap, and the juggernaut that is now one of the biggest weekends on the sporting calendar, the All-Star Weekend, with the skills contest, the All-Stars game, and the three-point contest. Around the world, people were starting to take an interest in what was to become the golden era of basketball, with fans all over different countries around the world picking their teams to follow in the NBA, and their interest in their own country's leagues as well also peaked, which they began to choose their own sides.
Australia saw the boom of the NBL and began to capitalise on its success. New players were picking up the game at local level, grassroots programs were being put in place, and most importantly, people were attending games at the highest level. This report will look into how the NBL eventually stagnated following what should have been the best era of its history. The NBA during the 1980s were producing superstars of legend status. These legends were someone for kids to look up to and aspire to be. They would watch their idols on TV perform skill moves, behind the back passes, and outrageous dunks. They would then spend the whole day in the backyard trying to recreate this idol's signature moves. Basketball was also seen as a clean sport, and parents would look into it for their kids rather than the violent stereotype of football in Australia. Since then, there has been a lot of work put into cleaning up the sport and attracting juniors back into footy.
And now into the decline of the NBL. The NBL has seen 30 teams come and go across 35 seasons. Across this time, there have been many expansions and contractions in the league, as well as many takeovers by different owners. This caused instability in the league and has caused many rebrandings, eventually ending up with today's system of the league being owned by private investors and the NBL clubs. At the end of Michael Jordan's career, there was a large drop in popularity of basketball, with many seeing this coming directly from the NBA not having found a replacement for Jordan's personality or profile, and this was shown around the world as attendances dropped off. The NBL never really found its style of play either, with most leagues around the world having their own traditions or styles. For example, in the NBA, teams are built around superstars and players of championship caliber who have the ability to draw a crowd and bring championships to their hometown. The EuroLeague has a team-oriented play style where they are focused on building chemistry and putting the best team on the court that will work together. The NBL has been compared to both with a mix of the US college ball, meaning that the players are looking to be the best in their team to get up and get out of the league to advance their careers abroad in other higher rated leagues. The NBA during the 1980s were producing superstars of legend status, for example, as we mentioned earlier, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. These legends were someone for kids to look up to and aspire to be. However, at the back end of these legends' careers, the NBL didn't have the personalities or the talent to keep up with these players. There was no one for the younger generation to aspire to be like. The NBL over its history has had some very bad governance. There have been teams that have fallen into involuntary administration halfway through the season, no major sponsors for teams or the league, 30 teams coming and going over 35 years, and recently the decision to merge all current and former Melbourne teams into Melbourne United. Now, Melbourne United is a team that has combined 7 different previous teams and franchises, and they now hold a strong fan base with marquee players such as David Anderson and Chris Goulding. However, for lots of age-old supporters of both the clubs and the NBL, this will never be the team that they will fully support. This will never be their number one. A major part of the league's stagnation was the constant rebranding and change of teams, because this never let the supporters of the league fully support their home team, as there was always a high chance that the season could have been their last. With no major personalities hitting the league, besides the washed-up NBA bit part players or college players who could never quite make it, the league has stagnated and struggled for a player to market itself around, let alone a franchise. Now, recently an example of this happened in Adelaide with Jerome Randall, last season's reigning MVP. He's been in Adelaide for the past 2 seasons, and recently it was announced that Adelaide were not going to re-sign him for this coming season. Now, Randall was the player that the NBL marketed itself around and drew crowds into games, whether it was in Adelaide or at a visiting team. When Randall first came to the NBL, he did really well and announced that Adelaide was going to be his home in the NBL, and he was never going to play for another franchise in that league. Since then, he took a pay cut last season to stick with them, where other teams were trying to convince him to sign for them and possibly bring a championship home. However, he took a pay cut and went on to win the MVP for the league. Over the off-season, Adelaide had a front office error, and it's now come out that there's been no contract negotiations and he will not be signed to their roster for the upcoming season.
Years ago, Adelaide basketball was really high. I want to be the guy to bring that back to the city.
I'm here, I'm focused. I think this is going to be a really exciting year. Let's just get it on. That's all I got to say.
The Adelaide 36ers are very reliant on Jerome Randall having another season this year like he did last year. Oh, how's that for a floater?
And this guy right here can score any time.
Here's one for the highlights reel. Jerome, oh man! How good a game was this?
I'm sitting here with my mouth wide open. What a game!
Even Jerome Randall enjoyed that one. We want to see Jerome Randall though put on a show, and he has to.
That is lightning quick.
Jerome Randall a huge night.
Just too much for the young Adelaide 36ers.
Now they have let a big opportunity slip for the 36ers. What a fight back from the Illawarra Hawks.
A performance the 36ers are going to forget pretty quickly.
They demolished the Adelaide 36ers.
I'm the leader of this team, and it's my job to come out and figure out a way to help win basketball games.
Larry Kesselman has put $6 million into the NBL to hold the controlling share of the company. He has since signed major sponsors for the league and signed a TV broadcast deal for the competition that will bring the sport back into spotlight and back to free-to-air. Since taking over, there has been multiple ad campaigns and a much larger marketing campaign. While acknowledging that the standard of the NBL will never reach the heights of the NBA, he has a dream that with more kids watching games on TV, kids will grow up wanting to play for an NBL franchise. The NBL coming back to free-to-air TV will promote larger marketing campaigns from investors such as Channel 9. With the recent takeover of the league, things are beginning to look positive again. There have been major shifts in marketing strategies, with Chris Goulding now becoming the voice of Melbourne United and people now associating him with the NBL. Free-to-air basketball is back, even if it's only one game a week. And for Foxtel viewers, they have the whole season at the tip of their fingers. The league is now beginning to finally solidify and stabilise and should hold its shape with the current setup.
So now to conclude our report, overall it has really been the deplorable governance of the league itself and its clubs that have cost the NBL what should have been its golden era, with a strong influx of junior talent hitting at the back end of the Jordan in the NBA era. These major ups and downs for the league seem to be finally stopping, with a more stable 8-team competition now competing and a larger focus on revenue coming in from sponsors and broadcast rights instead of the team selling tickets at the gate.
Under the new governance, the NBL has the potential to become a stable league with the ability to market its players and teams to the public. However, this has been left late, and now the league has years to gain on other summer sports such as cricket, Super Netball and A-League soccer.
Thank you for listening to our report.